What is good, boys? In this video, I'm going to be giving you my top 3 cold approach openers. I started cold approaching about 3 years ago, and it absolutely changed my life for the better. It allowed me to meet so many girls, make so many friends, network with so many people that otherwise I would have completely missed out on just because I was afraid to go up to someone and introduce myself. So I'm going to be breaking down the top 3 ways that you can go and introduce yourself, because the introduction is probably going to be the most important part. A lot of the judgment that people are going to make on you comes from that first impression. So you want to be able to make a great first impression when you're meeting people. So let me break down one of the reasons why you may not be doing this right now, although you know that there's so much potential reward that can come from cold approaching and you're not doing it. And that's going to be the fear of rejection. And I completely understand this more than anybody else. I was a shy, introverted kid all the way up until when I was 19 years old, when I first started cold approaching, and I really had to force myself to break out of my shell. But that is what allowed me to start having this upward spiral of success, was starting to become social, and then that led me to having many successful sales careers, and now my own high-ticket sales business. So, the fear of rejection, you need to just let it go. I don't know if you've seen maybe some of those like bad reaction videos from people talking and they got baited in with cameras and all that garbage. Completely forget about that. From my personal experience, I've never once had that, and if it did, just forget about it. That is some garbage. Those people, they're the weird ones, honestly. That's more of a reflection of them than it is upon you. To have success with cold approaching, you need to understand that it's going to be a lot of the work that you do outside of developing your social skills. So if you are looks maxing, you have a clean haircut, whether you rock a clean shave or you rock a beard, make sure it's well put together. You're wearing nice clothes, appropriate to the situation. If you're in the gym, obviously some nice gym clothes. If you're out at the club or anywhere else, or a dinner, like a restaurant, wearing the appropriate attire that looks good, you smell good, you're well put together, you have a nice physique. All these things are going to massively, incrementally improve the success that you have with cold approaching. So the first step to have success is to be working on yourself. Then it gets into the actual social skills. So now that you've let go of the fear of rejection and you just understand that it's also a numbers game, not everything is going to go perfect in the way that you want it to, but 99% of the people that you talk to are going to be extremely friendly. So forget about the fear of rejection. It's going to be a part of it. Most people are going to be nice, but not every conversation is going to work out. And now that you're working on yourself, you're presenting yourself the way that you want to be treated. So if you put yourself very well together, you're going to be treated better. You understand those two things. Now let's get into the top 3 cold approach openers, starting with the easiest. So this is going to be an environmental question. This is going to work for if you go up to someone, an individual, just one person, or I really like this one if I'm going up to a group of people. So say I'm outside of a bar or a club and there's a group of people. The best way to break into that is just going to be saying, excuse me guys, do you know what time the bar is closed or something, right? Just a quick example. This is going to allow you to ask everyone a question without, having to go up and introduce yourself to every single person right off the bat. And if they like you and they want you to hang out with them, it's going to be very obvious. Then you can take your time to introduce yourself. But environmental questions are going to be great for breaking that ice in a very low risk way. And you got to understand, the best thing that you can do when starting a cold approach is going to be asking a question. The reason for this is because since infancy, people have been biologically programmed to answer a question once they've been asked one. So this is what I've always been doing, right? And I always like to start off, especially if it's like a big group or I'm just going up to someone and interrupting what they're doing, is excuse me. You always say excuse me. To give you my first cold approach that I ever did when I went to Florida, I just moved there, I went to the mall, I wanted to try and meet people, and I walked up to these 2 girls, and I kind of just said something stupid like, hey, what's up? And they completely ignored me and walked away. I was devastated and I didn't do a cold approach again for months. So I would highly recommend you follow the advice in this video, because it's going to save you a lot of rejection and hardship that I personally had to deal with. And it was tough for me, especially since then I was still in my shell and I was still extremely shy and introverted. So using that excuse me is going to get their attention, and then asking them a question is going to lead to at least a response. If they completely ignore you, who cares? Their loss. So the first one is going to be an environmental question. This works best in new places that you're around. It can be something that you already know the answer to, but it's one way to break down that door without coming on very strong to whoever it is that you're trying to talk to. This will allow you to ask that question without really having too much fear of rejection. If you're a beginner, I would highly recommend starting off with this. So level 2, this is my personal favorite. This is what I do 99% of the time, is going to be asking their name. So I actually got this from the movie Spread with Ashton Kutcher. He said in this movie that there is no pickup lines. The only thing you ask them is their name. And I took that and I ran with it. And that has become my go-to ever since. And I've had massive success with this. There's a couple reasons why, and I can break those down for you in just a second. But once again, to start it off, you would go with, excuse me. You want to get their attention. You're speaking to them. You want to make sure that they're listening. And then you ask them the question that they're going to respond to most likely. I haven't had one person who I asked their name who doesn't respond. They'll respond, and if they're not interested, like there's been, festivals or clubs and parties that I've been at, when I say, excuse me, they look at me, I ask their name, and then they keep on going after they've told me. And they're not interested, and there's nothing wrong with that. But at least you got the name, you got to say hi to them, and if they're not interested, then you can move on to someone else. Cool, right? But at least you'll get that response, and then you can gauge it from there. A big part of cold approaching is going to be gauging the level of interest, and this is something you'll learn over time. But the reason why this works and why I really like this is because you're approaching this person as an equal. You're not complimenting them and putting them on a pedestal where they're above you, and you're not trying to use some cheesy, weird pickup line, but you're showing a level of interest to this specific individual, right? You want to get to know them, and if it's a girl, you're probably getting to want to know them because you like them in some way, shape, or form. This is understood by everyone involved in the interaction. You're not going up and singling out a girl out of all the girls, wherever you are in the club, just to say hi, right? Sure, you could be just that friendly social person, but there's probably a reason you're doing so, and they understand it. So all you have to do is go up and ask their name, and I would recommend following that up with something just like, are you from around here? Right? That's usually what I ask, and then from there it flows. You don't have to worry too much about it, right? Just start off with those two things in mind. I'm going to go up and ask her name, and then I'll ask her where she's from and if she's around here, and then it just flows. Don't worry about it. Just let the conversation flow after that. This was one of the biggest fears I had starting out, was what am I going to say after I go up to them? And if you have those first two questions in mind that you're going to ask, at this point, you don't have to worry about it. If they're one of the things is not every conversation is going to go well. And if you're gauging that it's not going well, you can just say, oh, well, it was nice to meet you. Maybe I'll see you around again. Have a great night. There's so many times I do that. And if the conversation did go well, you're going to know this. They're going to be showing that reciprocation and that interest in you as well. And it's just going to flow and you don't have to worry about it. It's just going to be a natural conversation. So that's going to be level 2. This is my personal favorite. This I do with everybody. So whether I'm trying to network, I'm trying to meet a new friend, I always start off with asking them their name. And this is obviously what I was saying for girls as well. This is my go-to. The third level, and we're going to break this down a little bit, and it's going to be using a compliment. So the way that I would personally do this, although I really don't do this too often, is going to be complimenting some sort of accessory that they have, like a piece of clothing, like a handbag, something that they're wearing. I really wouldn't go for the looks aspect of this. Going for the looks, right? This is going to come across very strong. So, and it can also come across as kind of cheesy and tacky. So it's personally not my favorite. You are pedestalizing someone at this point, and I really prefer to come in as an equal, especially being someone who nonstop, I pretty much work from morning to night to build my value as a man, from learning, reading books, meditating, gratitude journaling, the gym, working after that all day on my business and the things that all the things that I'm doing, my business, social media. I'm working all day to improve my value. So I'm not going to come in and start off the conversation pedestalizing someone else, right? I'm just not going to do that. But this can work. It's high risk, high reward. That's why I'm saying we're going from easiest to riskiest. And the riskiest is going to be giving them a compliment, saying like, I think you're beautiful, can I get your Snapchat? You're going to get a lot of rejections, but you'll also get people who, like girls in specific, who really respect that confidence. But to kind of backstep one is people respect a lot too. It's just coming up and asking them their name. So that's what I've noticed. Girls have said to me, I just really respect how you came up to me without knowing me and started talking to me. So I don't think you have to go that far, is my personal opinion. But you can. It's high risk, high reward. It's not something I personally do. And if you were to use the complimenting, I actually learned this from someone who I was networking with. He was teaching me how to network in a wealthy area. We were at the Ritz in Sarasota in Florida. And he was saying with older people, you want to give them a compliment about an accessory. So he complimented this guy's hat. He complimented this lady's blazer. And it just led to us having conversations with these older people and getting to break down that door. And the older people love being flattered. So that's one thing that you can use, but it's appropriate to the right situation. So with, a girl your age, I really wouldn't be trying to use the compliment strategy to break down that door. For me personally, that's just not my strategy. If you want to do that and you found that it works, awesome, that's cool. But what I will say, those are the 3 strategies. But in terms of compliments, where you can throw in a compliment, and this is like elite level, is about anywhere from 3 to 8 minutes in, depending on the level of interest. So if you wait a little bit and then you throw in that compliment after you've gauged that they are interested in this conversation, they are reciprocating, they're asking questions about you as well at this point, you don't have to ask all the questions, and it's not like, where are you from? And then they're like, oh, well, where are you from? Right? They're just reciprocating. No, they're asking new questions. They're showing a level of interest in you as a person. Then after, I would recommend like anywhere from 3 to 8 minutes, maybe more in the 5 to 8, is you can give them a compliment. For me, I love blonde hair, blue-eyed girls. So one thing, if they have like really nice eyes or something, I'll give them a compliment about their eyes like 5 to 8 minutes in and say, I think your eyes are very beautiful. And then this will solidify that and once again allow you to gauge that level of interest and see where you stand with this conversation and where this is going to go. So that is my personal tactic in terms of complimenting, is waiting a little bit and then doing something related to them, specifically their looks, but after they've already shown interest. And this is something that girls do to me all the time as well. They compliment my eyes, or specifically I get a lot is my eyelashes. I guess for some reason they're like long and curled, and that's like a thing that girls like. So I don't really know, but they'll compliment my eyelashes or something along those lines, but they do the same thing. It's like they don't just come off the bat and say, I like your eyelashes. If someone said that to me, I would say, I'm very nice. I'd be like, oh, thank you so much. And I would probably ask their name and further that conversation if I was interested. But it comes so much more natural and it comes so much more appreciated after you've actually gotten to know this person a little bit, and then they give you a compliment. And this is once again going to allow you to gauge that level of interest in the conversation and know where to take it. So that would be my strategy, is going to be, you have those 3 options. I still use the environmental. Like I was saying, if I'm approaching a group, I will use an environmental. It's going to be hard to, say, excuse me, what's your name, to 5 different people, but to go up to a group and be like, excuse me, guys, do you know what time the club opens? Or do you know a good pregame spot around here? Like, I'm traveling all the time, going to new cities. I use this all the time. And a lot of the times they'll be like, oh yeah, where are you from? Because especially if you're in foreign countries like I am right now, and you speak like English, they're going to be like, oh, where are you from? And they're going to be interested in you. And they'll be like, oh, come hang out with us. Yeah, there's a good pregame spot right here. Come join us. And then you just got into that friend group, and then you introduce yourself to everyone in that group, and you hang out with them, and you get to talk, and you ask them where they're from, and if all that stuff, it comes naturally. But these are the top 3 methods that I've personally used and had amazing success with. 1, environmental. 2 is the name. This is more for speaking to an individual or just 1 to 2 people. Like if it's 2 girls, sure, go up and talk to them like that. And then last is going to be the compliment, and we kind of went over how it's either an accessory, or you can go full risk and go for that, like, I think you're beautiful, can I get your number or something, but that's high risk, high reward. And then I told you as well, my personal compliment strategy, which is waiting anywhere from 5 to 8 minutes. Of course, it can be later. It can be 30 minutes, an hour, depending on how long you've been hanging out with this person. But in that initial conversation, anywhere from 3 to 8 minutes is going to be super effective to throw in that compliment specific to their looks to once again further gauge their level of interest in this conversation. So that is my full strategy on cold approaching, how to break down that door and how to actually have these conversations. I just gave you my 3 best strategies. So if you got any value from this video, please like and subscribe and comment down below if you've actually used any of these yourself and how it went for you. And also if you are going to start cold approaching, I would love to hear about it. Give me some of your feedback on how it went and how if you use these strategies, how it went for you. All right, I'll see you guys in the next one. Have a great day, everyone.